Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be continuing my best of 2021 series. I recently uploaded a video of my favorite skincare items that I discovered in the year of 2021. We're gonna get started with foundations and concealers today. I personally love foundation. It's my favorite thing to test out, foundation and concealer. It's my favorite thing. I love it when the skin looks so beautiful. I feel like if the skin looks good, the rest of the makeup just kind of falls in place. And if you guys are new to my channel, up here on the screen is an image of my age, my skin type, what I like, what I dislike, and what I look for when I am testing and playing with new foundations. Makeup is subjective, but particularly with the foundations and concealers because it won't work for everyone. What I like may not work for you based on we may have different skin types, we may have different skin concerns, we may need something different from our foundations. I feel like this information is super important for the viewers. I will also list that in the description box down below. If you guys are curious about my complexion, in the description box down below, I will also list popular foundations out on the market and what shades I wear in those foundations and concealers so that you guys can kind of use that as a guide. I have a lot of great foundations that I have discovered this year, and they won't be in any particular order, and I will also list all of the products that I discussed in today's video in the description box down below. I have to start this video off by sharing my absolute favorite current foundation, and if you guys watch me, you will not be surprised by this. This is the Beauty Blender Bounce Skin Tint Foundation. I've kind of felt like madly hard in love with this for multiple reasons, but this has kind of replaced some of the other favorites that I have in my collection, which I will talk about them. It's so beautiful and so natural on my skin that when I wear it, I really don't feel like I'm wearing foundation, and it wears off very naturally. It doesn't get patchy. One of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to foundations, I don't like it to lay on top of the skin, and then as the day progresses and the oils kind of come through the skin, the foundation will kind of lift and start like getting really patchy, especially like if you touch your forehead, you'll have like this bald spot. I do not like that. I don't like it when foundation kind of lifts and like breaks away. And when I discovered this Bounce Skin Tint, I kind of bought it on a whim. Like I really wasn't planning on doing a review on it. I actually included it in a full face of new makeup. And I fell so hard in love with it that I just have not stopped using it. In fact, I had to get a new bottle of it because I was using it pretty much every single day. And I have a lot of great foundations in my collection, but it's all I want to reach for. It has a little dropper, and the consistency, I would say, is really thin and kind of lightweight. Now, the shade I wear in this foundation is Tan 2. This color blends beautifully into my skin, and it becomes this like skin-like finish. It like, as you blend it out, I get great coverage, meaning that for me, it gives me nice, solid, medium coverage. And as it blends out onto the skin, it gives the skin a beautiful radiance, but it's not a radiance that slips and slides throughout the day. So it's just one of those like healthy looking foundations that's kind of evened out the skin tone. It's not too heavy. It doesn't get cakey on my skin. And I have fallen madly in love with it. This formula is made in Italy and it's $29. It comes in multiple shades. This is my favorite foundation of 2021 by far. Out of all of the foundations that I've tested, I've reached for this the most out of all of them. And it's just one of those dependable foundations that I know is going to be locked and loaded, but still make my skin look so healthy and glowy, but it's not too oily, it's not too dewy. It's just a beautiful foundation, and I love the way that it blends into the skin, and it just gives that gorgeous glow from within, but it doesn't look like I'm wearing makeup. It's the other thing that I like about it is that as you're looking here on my hand, you can't even really tell that I'm wearing makeup. It just looks so natural over all of those creases in my hand. It doesn't get thick and gross on the skin. It lays beautiful over wrinkles, beautiful over pores, beautiful over texture, and I'm obsessed with it. I think it's such a beautiful foundation, and a little bit of it goes a really long way because it does give you really great coverage. Now, my preferred way to apply all of my foundations is to spread it even layer all over the face with a brush and then push it into the skin with a sponge. That's kind of my preferred way, but this has just never let me down and I love it. So that is definitely my number one foundation of 2021. Let's talk about the Shiseido Synchro Skin Radiant Lifting Foundation. So this I like way more than the original formula. The original formula was a little bit too drying for a dry normal skin type. So if you have a dry normal skin type and maybe you tried the original Synchro Skin and it didn't really do very good for you, the Radiant is beautiful and it does exactly what it says it is. It's a natural radiant foundation that gives you great coverage and lays beautiful over pores, texture, wrinkles, and a little bit does go a very long way. But it lasts a long time. And I've been really impressed with this formula. I have it in 2 shades. The only thing I don't like about it is how messy it is. Especially, I'm not sure why it's that way, but the bottle is kind of messy. This is the one that I use the most. This is the shade 360 Citrine, and it's so messy. That's my only complaint is the messy bottle. You can twist it and lock it, especially if you're traveling. You just twist it and you can lock it, which I do like that mechanism, but for some reason, mine is just a mess. I don't know why, but it is a really beautiful foundation. Let's talk about this. So you guys have probably heard me talk about the DIOR Airflash multiple times, and I loved this foundation from the moment I tried it, but I fell madly in love with it when I got my right shade. So I used to use the shade 4 Neutral, and it was just a little bit too pink on my warm skin. I kind of tried to make the shade work because I loved the formula so much. Well, when I was out in California in August, I went ahead and picked up the shade 4WO, and this is for Warm Olive, and I absolutely love this. This is that foundation that is an absolute must in the humidity. No matter what you're doing, if you need a locked and loaded foundation and you need it to last all day long and look natural, the Airflash is where it's at. It's expensive, but it is beautiful. It's a fantastic formula. This is like waterproof. This is like locked and loaded. This is what you recommend for brides to wear on their wedding day. This is one of those that's the most dependable foundation that I have in my collection, period. The other one I want to talk about is this one from Valentino. This one surprised me because I had such a horrible time with the Gucci. I'm just gonna be honest. That Gucci foundation was terrible. It just was. I like the primer, but the foundation itself was trash, in my opinion. So when the Valentino foundation launched, this is called Very Valentino, I was very surprised by it. And this is so gorgeous and so radiant, but yet it stays put and it's so long lasting. And this formula actually reminds me of the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate, which this is a super crazy expensive foundation. And to be honest, this one is actually identical. I actually did a video on this. I will link it in the description box down below, but I compared the Synchro Radiant and the Shade and Illuminate on each side. You couldn't tell the difference between the two. It's crazy how close these are as being almost identical. But same goes for the Valentino. So the Valentino wears the same way as the Shade and Illuminate. When you put it on, it gives the skin that illuminating glow. Like it's got that light reflective look to it where when the light hits it, it gives this like really pretty glow. It's hard to explain, but that's kind of how the Shade and Illuminate works from Tom Ford. But I can tell you, this is the exact same way. And it's so much cheaper, but beautiful, beautiful foundation. I was very, very impressed with it. I haven't really wanted to try other products from them. Maybe I will in the year of 2022. I'm not sure. But their products are crazy expensive. But the foundation really, really impressed me. But with all of that said, okay, the Very Valentino is very expensive. And in my opinion, the Bounce is just as good, if not better, than the Valentino. So I just have to throw that out there. And the Skin Tint is $29 compared to, I think this is in the $60 range. So, you know, take that for what you will. Okay, let's talk about this one from Chantecaille. So this is called the Future Skin Oil-Free Gel Foundation. That's exactly what this is. This is a gel foundation. And I cannot believe that I've had this in my collection for as long as I have and wasn't wearing it as much as I should have been. This is a beautiful foundation. Being that it is that gel, it kind of dries and like sets down on the skin. But the way that this blends, by the way, I'm wearing Shade Sand. The way that this blends, think about it like this. If you've used like a gel moisturizer and as you blend it in, it feels wet. And then as it's drying, it kind of turns into that like gel texture. That's exactly what this foundation does. I don't have anything like this in my collection as far as having that gel base. Really great ingredients, pretty expensive, yes, but it has such great ingredients that I wanted to mention it, especially for those who have like sensitive skin. If you have like rosacea and stuff like that, and you have to be very careful with what foundations you can wear. Chantecaille is expensive, but they do have amazing products and they have amazing skincare, and they put good ingredients in their makeup. That I cannot deny. So I wanted to mention this for those who may have sensitive skin. Gorgeous foundation. Wish they would come out with more shades, but it is a gorgeous foundation. Let's talk about the KVD. This Good Apple was all the rage, right? Like, remember when TikTok like sold this out? Couldn't get a hold of it. Nobody knew how to get it. It was on back order, whatever. So I picked this up and I tried it, and I actually really like this foundation. The trick with this is you cannot use very much. I tried to say that in my review so many times so I could get the point across that this is not a foundation that you can use very much of. You have to use the lightest amount of this. A tiny bit of this goes the longest way, but I quite like it. And this is one of those that I will reach for. It's kind of a balm, but it's like hella coverage, like the fullest coverage that you are gonna get. But this, I will spread one little swipe and just keep spreading it as far as I can spread it. And I will add it as I need it. This is not one that I would recommend. Here's the thing. How I like to do it is I will take and dip my finger into it, and then I'll take a swipe here, swipe here, swipe here, and here. And I will blend that out until it is completely blended. And if I need to add more, I will take the tiniest amount. This will last forever because you cannot use very much, especially if you have texture or wrinkles. I have to apply the lightest amount, but boy, does my skin look flawless. It's one of those that will erase all of your bad decisions, all of your bad choices in an instant. But you just have to be so careful with it. And a lot of the negative reviews that I saw from people were, this was just too thick and too cakey and too heavy. And it is, and it can be. If you use even too much, it's too cakey, too heavy. So it's so finicky that it almost makes it not worth it to use it, because it's one of those that you have to be so careful when applying. But for me, when I apply it the right way, I love it. If I don't apply it the right way, it's like the worst foundation day ever. It's one of those. Let's talk about the Givenchy Prisme Libre Skin Caring Glow Foundation. This is just as beautiful as all of the others that I've mentioned. So it is just like the Valentino, just like the Shiseido. I would say this is less coverage than the Skin Tint from Beauty Blender, but just as beautiful on the skin as all of the others that I've mentioned. Kind of has that same effect on the skin. If you guys are kind of getting the gist here, I like a very natural, healthy glow, but I don't like it to slip and slide. I like it to look like my skin. So, but I like it to cover up some of my hyperpigmentation and all that. And this is a beautiful foundation. It just is. It's highly rated for a reason. Gorgeous, gorgeous foundation. So I definitely had to mention that. Now that we got the foundations out of the way, let's move on to the concealer. Up here on the screen is what I look for and what I like when I am testing out new concealers, or what I like in concealers overall. I'm 42 years old. I like to bring my concealer down here in this area. And with that, I don't want the concealer to be a thick, heavy formula. I like it to be great coverage, but kind of thin. And because the thicker the formula over these wrinkles, the heavier those wrinkles will look throughout the day. So I'm very particular about what concealer I wear, especially because I bring it down here on that skin that's so thin. So, as many of you guys know, my favorite concealer, I bought this back in November. It finally, I think I got this early on QVC, right? And I was able to play with it and test it and da-da-da. And then it officially launched, I want to say like January, February, something like that. Well, by that point, I had already fallen so hard, madly in love with this formula that I could not wait to share it with you guys. And I love this creamy concealer. This gives me that gorgeous medium to full coverage, but it's so creamy that it's forgiving. So meaning that if you get a little bit too heavy with your application, I don't have to worry about it. Like, this is forgiving, that it's not going to be too heavy. It's not going to look heavy, even if I get heavy-handed with it. Because sometimes I can get heavy-handed with blush and concealer. Those are my two kryptonites. I can get heavy-handed. It is what it is. But this is one of those forgiving formulas, and I absolutely love it. Still my ride or die. There you go. My second favorite formula of the year is the By Terry Hyaluronic Concealer. This is fantastic. I wear this in the shade 400 medium. I wish you'd bring out more shades because this is a beautiful concealer. I love the brush on this. Absolutely love it. I love the formula. I love the applicator. A little teeny bit of this concealer goes the longest way. And I do not do a full click. So how you get product into the tip is you click the bottom. You click it, right? Well, what I do is I do like a half of a click. So I don't want the full click to come in, because this much concealer I can use on both under eyes, half of the click. A little bit of this goes a very long way, gives you instant full coverage, and it's hydrating, but yet sets down, kind of giving that soft appearance to the under eye. Now, what's interesting about this is that I am not a fan of the Hydra Powder, the loose, the compact Hydra Powder. I'm not a fan of the foundation, so I was very skeptical when I bought this because I just haven't really enjoyed the whole Hyaluronic Hydra line from By Terry, but this concealer blew my mind. It is beautiful. With the Tarte Ultra Creamy, it's more of a medium. It's not a full coverage. Like the traditional Shape Tape is full coverage. This one is a more medium, but on the days where I need that full coverage, but I do not want my concealer to look heavy, this is the one that I will reach for. And it's just absolutely beautiful in every way. Let's move on to a new discovery, and this is from Kosas. This is a rediscovery of this. So I used this concealer a while back and liked it, but I think maybe I didn't have the right color. I think the color that I had was a little bit too light, so I didn't reach for it. And I went ahead and purchased a better shade months later. This is a beautiful natural concealer. So the shade that I prefer is the shade 6.8 Warm. And this is a very natural concealer, looks beautiful under the eyes, and the way that it lays on the under eye, it's so natural. It gives me like a good medium coverage. And Kosas is a very clean brand, which is what I really like about it as well. It doesn't lay heavy in the wrinkles. It looks really natural. Other thing that I like about it is I love the way that it dries. So you can see the way that that blended into my hand, but you can also see that my hand still has that shine to it, but it looks really natural. It's a beautiful, beautiful concealer. The other product that I wanted to talk about that I recently discovered, now I know that this has been raved about for many, many years. I think I'm just late to the game. This is the LA Girl Pro Conceal, and this is the HD High Definition Concealer. Now, I don't use this as a concealer. This is actually a color corrector. I have this in the shade Peach, and what a great color corrector this is. Like, this is not heavy at all. And I actually keep telling myself that I want to try the concealer in this. I just haven't done it yet. But like, I love the color corrector of this. So as I blend it out, you can't feel it on the skin. It's such a thin texture. The reason why I wanted to mention this is that if you're like me and you're getting more wrinkles under here as the years come on, and you're getting darker under eye circles, what happens when you're using a concealer to try to correct the under eyes is that you end up using too much concealer, and the more that you use, the worse your wrinkles look. What happens is you're using a lot of concealer to cover up the dark circles, but then you're also using too much concealer, and then you're emphasizing all of the wrinkles under your eyes. So it's like you're battling one thing but making another thing worse, right? So the trick with that I have found is to use a color corrector. And I never used a color corrector for years and years. I know that a lot of people have, but it was just one extra step that I just felt like I didn't need. If I was having a really hard day, I would grab this one from Charlotte Tilbury. This is her Magic Corrector. And this is a kind of dewy, tacky kind of formula, but it does work really, really well, okay? But a little tiny bit goes a long way. But what I have found with the Charlotte Tilbury is that if I got it a little bit too thick, it wouldn't lay right underneath my concealer. But this works beautifully. So going in with this and color correcting those spots. So I'll take the brush and go like here, like this, and put it all in that area, right? Then I will take my finger and kind of just blend it out. It's such a lightweight formula that it blends out really, really fast. And it dries, okay? Then going in with the concealer. So now you've done the color correct. You've kind of corrected some of the under eye circles. Now you can go in with a little bit of concealer and kind of even out the tone of the color, and you're not needing as much, so you're not going to emphasize your wrinkles. So I recommend a good color corrector, and this one I've really enjoyed, and I kind of could smack myself for not getting it sooner because it is a nice one. And I really hope to one day try the actual concealer in this because it impressed me. Let's move on to this concealer from Chantecaille. I really like these stick concealers, especially for on the go. Like, I will keep it in my purse. I really like the Clé de Peau one in the stick concealer. This is the Clé de Peau. Yeah, it's just their concealer, and I really like this. The shade's a little bit too light. I like this one. It's just the shade's a little bit too light. This one is in the shade Ochre, and Ochre is a little bit too light, which keeps me from using it, but I do like the texture of it. But when I discovered the Chantecaille is a thicker, so this is the Clé de Peau, and these are the Chantecailles. Chantecaille has just as much coverage, but it's a lighter formula. It's not as thick as the Clé de Peau. And I like to wear shade 6, like right here in this area. And then I will grab just a tiny bit of shade 4 Warm and put it right here to kind of brighten. But overall, the color that I like to wear the most is 6. But it's a very lightweight, natural concealer. And it's one of those, for those of you out there that don't like a liquid and you're looking for a good stick concealer, this is a nice formula. It's not super, super thick, and it blends out really, really easily. And so this is 4 Warm, I believe. Yeah, this is 4 Warm and this is 6. And 6 kind of blends into my skin and just like disappears. So I appreciate that about the formula, but it is a good one. Right, let's talk about the one from One Size. This is Patrick Starr's brand, the One Size, and this is called the Turn Up the Base Concealer. And I like this concealer, but I don't use it as much because I have to mix the two shades. I've struggled trying to find my shade in this. It's a full coverage concealer. It's very natural, lightweight on the under eye, absolutely beautiful. My complaint about the concealer is the shades. The shades I've struggled with. So I've been trying to kind of find the right balance as far as the shade goes, but the formula is fantastic from one side. So if you can find the right shade, it's a great formula. So that's it. Those are all of my favorite foundations and concealers for the year of 2021. Send that down below in the comment section. Let us know what your favorite foundation and concealer was for the year of 2021. All of my foundations and concealers that I love are very similar in the way that they wear and the way that they apply. I do hope that the video was helpful. In my next best of, it will be complexion, like powder, bronzer, contour, blush, highlight. Woo, it's gonna be a fun one. So definitely keep your eye out for that video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in today's video. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Love you. Bye.